What's up, guys, and welcome back to Wikup Entertainment. So, there's something really surprising here that I've discovered. It is that most of the witnesses that were brought forward by Brigadier Kininda are police officers. So, it's really surprising that something like this would happen. Or maybe it's not surprising because Brigadier Kininda himself, he is a police officer. So, the question that is there now is that why are most of these witnesses that Kininda is bringing forward police officers? Well, are these police officers his friends, or they're actually witnesses that witnessed and have evidence in this case? So in this video, let's analyze exactly what is going on here. Why are most of these witnesses police officers? What is going on? Is there a cover up? Is there no cover up? Because that's one of the questions that people have been asking and saying there is a cover up here, and even the defense has been saying that. Now, first, let's look at the argument for the cover up. The first point, obviously, is that it's kind of suspicious to focus on police testimonies instead of relying on eyewitnesses who were present at the scene. Because inside that Kumalo house, there were 7 adults. But surprisingly, the state is heavily reliant on the evidence from these police officers. So this is like raising concerns towards a narrative control that is being pushed forward by the state. Because what actually makes sense is to actually heavily rely on eyewitnesses instead of these witnesses like police officers, even though Brigadier Kininda says that he didn't want to be influenced by the people who were in the house, so he is now relying on these police officers. So there are these allegations that the crime scene itself was actually tampered with, the evidence that was there was actually tampered with, and it was cleaned up. The entire house was like cleaned up before a proper forensic evidence investigation was actually done. So with the Kumalo house having been tampered with like that, so why is now Kininda relying on these like police officers? Because you should have like first of all focused on the people that were actually cleaned up the house before then like relying on the police officers. So this is kind of like putting the cart before the horse. Because another argument that someone can like put out there is that there was like deliberate interference with what was inside the Kumalo house. So another argument like that supports the cover up argument is that there is a powerful figure that is being like protected. So to actually protect that powerful figure, then there is actually a need to involve like these police officers as Brigadier Kininda is doing, rather than exposing the real perpetrators. The argument for powerful figures being protected was brought up by Advocate therefore in court himself, and obviously as expected, his argument was like thrown out of the court, and it wasn't even entertained at all, because basically it was just like an allegation without any proof whatsoever. So this is was more of like trying to tarnish the image of high profile people. To add on top of that, there have been like inconsistencies in the investigations that have seen multiple changes in statements, lost evidence and contradictions, which is like a clear signal to others that there is like serious mismanagement that is occurring here. And the people that were in the house, very key witnesses like Kelly Kumalo and Longetwala, they were not even cross-examined at all. Those guys should have been thoroughly questioned. So them not being cross-examined, it fueled these suspicions that probably their testimonies could contradict the evidence that is being brought up by the likes of Constable Zungu. So these are like some of the arguments for the cover-up that is occurring. However, at the same time, there are also like a case that is against the argument or of a cover up. For example, you can look like the police themselves are the experts. So it's normal for law enforcement officials to testify first, since they are the ones who have handled the forensic analysis, the interrogations of the witnesses who will be inside the house, and the crime scene investigation, investigating literally everything. And it's no different with this case. The police officers were the first to arrive at the scene, and they closed off the entire house and told no one to enter into the house itself. So obviously, we would expect the police to be key witnesses in such a scenario. So looking from this angle, there is no cover up whatsoever that is occurring. It is normal for police officers to be key witnesses here. Also, at the same time, Brigadier Gininda might be having like challenges himself, because investigations take time, and the delay and the shifting of these court dates doesn't necessarily mean that there is a cover up occurring. It is just genuine difficulties in solving this high profile case. And Gininda is obviously doing his best and looking at all the witnesses that he could find that can bring closure to this case. So probably this is him just being honest and trying as much as he can to solve this case. And what's more, at the same time, there is no clear evidence of a cover up whatsoever. While there are inconsistencies, there is no direct proof here that points to say there is a cover up. So the trial is still going on, and civilian witnesses like Kele obviously, at one point, they are going to be requested to come to court and testify. So here, the court most probably has prioritized the police and forensic evidence first before moving to witness testimonies. And because the challenge that is there is that some of the people were inside the house, the evidence is actually pointing to them as the suspects. So relying on their testimonies as they are also the suspects, it's very, very difficult, because you may end up with a mistrial. So it is probably much better to rely with evidence from police officers who are neutral in this case, who are not even involved whatsoever with what happened inside that Kumalo house, instead of relying on the people that were in the house who have evidence that is pointing to them as the suspects. So you see, so yes, this case is definitely full of mysteries, inconsistencies, and a lot of unanswered questions. But the verdict that we can come up with here is that there is no cover up that is here whatsoever. So the case itself, yes, it's definitely complex, and it's going to be taking time. But with time, obviously, the truth is going to come up out, and the conclusion definitely is that there is no cover up here. So